Hey everybody, I stopped by my comrade's place today. He is also engaged in car service, but he is engaged in bodywork and accidentally stumbled upon a unique exhibit of domestic automobile industry. I think almost all of you have already realized what we are talking about. As Aston Bender used to say, breathe deeply, you are excited. This is our Russian supercar, once rattled all over the country and perhaps somewhere else in the neighborhood. This is the Marussia supercar. It's the Marussia, I take it. That's right. Probably Marussia. It's alive. It's a complete specimen. It's running. It's registered. And it's generally fine, apart from some childhood illnesses. In this situation, I understand there's a story about the alarm system. Today we have a unique opportunity to look at this, I am not afraid to say, miracle of technology. As far as it is possible to do it in this room, I will do it. Accordingly, I will also show you. You can draw your own conclusions. I didn't prepare for this event at all. But accordingly, my emotions in principle, it is even better to convey my emotions directly without any preparation of Google and everything else in general. I think that you also in comments will comment this video because, frankly speaking, for me, it is the first such meeting. Just to see this car. Once I even saw such a car being unloaded at some gas station, like, I think, Yukos. Fomenko himself was present there. It was somewhere around Volokolamka. But it's been very, very many years. But, in general, this car is in front of me now. I think it is a unique car because we have never had anything like this without government support. This, as far as I understand, was a private project, but as usual, something went wrong, and unfortunately, this project did not go into production. But the rest of it, I think you can safely read on Wikipedia somewhere else. But the point is that this is in fact the first such loudly announced Russian project of a Russian supercar. In fact, it would be really cool if it were brought to fruition. It's clear that when it all started in 2007, the look of the car was actually quite cool and revolutionary. Now, when you look at all this, and especially in person, it looks like a homemade car, but in general, the architecture of the body is quite interesting. The only thing is, of course, embarrassing are these bolts, but it may even add charm to this car. Basically, you can't comment here, you can just show the video sequence. Everything else is just a matter of everyone drawing their own conclusions about the engine. As far as I understand, it's a 3.5-litre Toyota gasoline engine, but that's what my friends say. I didn't really look into the situation because I didn't have time. I heard somewhere that I think it was a 3.5-litre Nissan motor that was used in the 350 Z Coupe. I could be wrong, or something is wrong. I got it. There are two working versions of this, I take it, either the Nissan motor or the Toyota motor. Those who are more on the subject post too, so as to enlighten everyone else as to what the motor is here. But the rest of it, the build quality, the layout, you see for yourself. But once again, for its time, for our country, without government support. Again, I think that without state support, because if it was state money and everything had gone the way it went, there would have been some high-profile criminal cases. But there was no such thing here, from which I conclude today that it was a private initiative, but unfortunately it did not reach the end. What? But it's really sad. I just wish something like this would have worked in such a huge country. Especially for this, I think there are prerequisites and hands. It is clear that 10 years have passed since that time, and of course, technology is different now. But in the current situation, it is probably unrealistic to realize such a project. But in those years, it was quite a feasible task. It would have needed more effort, some more correct marketing moves, and regular money pouring in, and I think everything would have worked out. Moreover, in principle, this whole idea, even in Europe, was accepted quite well. In my opinion, quite well. Unfortunately, I don't remember the nuances, but as I recall, someone asked me about it from Europeans I knew in those years. They all heard about this case and watched with interest, but again, due to the fact that I am engaged in automobiles for many years, respectively, the circle of communication of people, mainly from this industry, well, respectively, people all about it somewhere, something heard something. But the average mass consumer, the average person is not sure that he knows what Marussia is, but maybe he does. Why not? But by the way, in principle, I think that the application for collector value of this car is quite relevant. And similarly, especially as far as I understand, cars with documents, really with honest documents that got them the right way. There are very few, and it is still unclear how many of these cars were built, how many were turnkey, how many kit cars were left. But at the time of the bankruptcy, I understand that it may have been even a few dozen. Again, this is my interpretation of this event, so if I'm mistaken somewhere, you can correct me. But so, from the point of view of just the picture, here, in general, plus or minus, it looks like some early work of Ferrari. But, again, except, of course, for a few things. Just showing you the attachment point where the foot that holds the hood goes. It hasn't even had shock absorbers yet. It's all very, very, very manual. It's like an old car with a stick. But still, you could probably make it prettier. The door opens very interestingly too, something like an Aston Martin, I think. Again, maybe there are some other options. But in the interior, everything is very Spartan, but Spartan in the moment, because I just showed you fragments of the interior, so to say. Around the car, they are located because there is some hard sticking point exactly on the electrics. But I think that when all this business will be adjusted and it will be assembled, I mean the car, then it will be quite possible to shoot it once again in full assembly, in full completeness. And I think it will be very, very interesting. The only thing is, of course, I think, if you look through a big screen, the quality will probably be clear, but when you look at the phone, it seems that the car is so super ready. But in fact, when you see it in person, there are a lot of inconsistencies. You don't understand it right away. I mean, the first feeling is that some picture, it's not bad. When you start to look into all sorts of meshes, grids, turn indicators, but it looks very, very much like a homemade car. And the fact that now people make replicas of Lamborghinis and other things, perhaps even more qualitatively than this thing, which was made by a bunch of people in some kind of almost factory conditions. But again, this is not a criticism, it's just a statement of fact. But write again in the comments, who knows about some interesting nuances of this project? Here, by the way, I found some sort of control unit for something. With Lotus written on it, so there's definitely exclusivity here. I'm just showing you now, this block here has Lotus written on it. So of course the blocks look pre-revolutionary to say the least, but it just adds to the charm of this car. But it seems to me that it is very wrong that this project was abandoned. Maybe it will be resuscitated someday, but it will probably be after some events are over. I think you've realized which ones, but God willing, everything will work out and we will see something of our own, something interesting on our roads. And I will be a fan of this project, as I think you will be too. But that's all for now. Have a good view, everyone. Goodbye.